Hey there YouTube, so I thought I'd take advantage of the sunlight. Now with the benefit of editing, you probably wouldn't have seen it, but this is actually my third attempt with this because apparently my first memory card decided to fail on me. So this is take 3 on the second memory card. We're going to try to see if we can get through this video unscathed. Anyway, this is my first video since the last live stream, which I did with Chris McGill from House of Jordans and Card Ladder. It went pretty well. I was pretty happy with it overall, top to bottom. I did get some good feedback from some folks I know as well, so that's always encouraging when it seemed to work out well. I doubt it answered all your questions if you have them, but hopefully it gave you something to go off of. And if you still have more questions, you can reach out to them and reach out to the team and see if you can get something more to your satisfaction. So from that perspective, I'll leave it at that. But today, what I wanted to talk about is a little bit more about the idea of FOMO. Now, fear of missing out, you're probably familiar with that concept, and in the realm of buying, it makes a lot of sense. But I also think it can apply a lot to selling, and that's kind of the topic that I want to talk about today. But before I start that, I did want to do this, and this is the third time I'm doing this, so we're going to try to get this done one time here. So I did receive a couple of packages, so I won't be nearly shut out like last week, although the Gordie Howe is a great card to have for, if it's going to be a one-card mail week, then that's a pretty good one. I did receive a box, including all my mail, and inside of this box was the slip, including the first 2 cards that came for me from Project 2020. And as you can see, I tried to start opening the first one before my memory card gave up last time. So anyway, so I got 2 copies of 2 of the cards. So this is card number 89 and number 90. So I did both of these. I ordered after the Keith Shore Griffey, and I talked about it a little bit in that video a long time ago now, it feels like. I ordered these on May the 26th, and these are the first ones to come in. So that tells you how long it's been. Add all the delays, plus coming to Canada. Anyway, as I open these and check out and make sure and see what I actually got, what kind of holder and all that, I'll talk to you about the FOMO thing. Oh, I got the proper, looks like I have the proper holders for this. Let's see. Okay, these seem to be pretty straightforward. So that's the Natural Sandy Koufax. It's a pretty cool looking card. I actually like that. The Koufax rookie has always been an interesting one for me. I like those. That looks pretty good. Not bad. Anyway, now FOMO from the perspective of buying, you kind of understand it. It's pretty straightforward. It makes a lot of sense. FOMO in that perspective is really kind of the I won't say the urge. Urge is probably not the right word. It's more like a feeling, like an inclination that you have, almost a desperation. And that's really honestly the best way to look at it. You have almost this desperation, like, oh man, I have to buy this card, or I'm going to miss the boat. And that's what prompts a lot of people to sometimes make buying decisions they shouldn't make. That part of FOMO, I think most people understand. It's pretty straightforward. It's not that complex. FOMO on the other end of it, though, is kind of interesting because sometimes that type of FOMO, in terms of the selling, can lead to inaction. And that kind of makes it a little bit more interesting from my perspective. And what I mean when I say that is, there's a lot of folks that basically obsess themselves over trying to sell at the right moment, trying to basically time the market. And that right now, with the way the sports card market is gone, and I'll give you some examples in a minute, that I think is going to be really the prevalent form of FOMO, at least as far as the buyers are concerned. And the reason is because you see so many profits being made by so many people, and such large amounts. You see these cards going up. So that's the Old Man Allen, Ted Williams. If I can get that to focus a little bit. I really like this one, to be honest with you. This one was one that just stood out to me. Not everybody's a fan of Old Man Allen, but if you're going to take pictures of it, for the 54 tops, I actually really like this concept. With the full kind of bleed picture leading all the way to the top. The 54 tops actually does that in the real one, but I actually kind of like the way this one turned out. Not too bad. It's pretty good. So from the buyer's perspective, like I was saying, the reality is that timing the market gets to be really difficult. Like you look at and you see these prices going up and up and up and up, and in your mind you're almost paralyzed. You're thinking to yourself like, well, if I sell now, what if it goes up again? And then it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy because enough cards sell where then it goes up again. And that just reinforces the mentality, reinforces the behavior. And I get it. But what I might counter to you is a simple concept. And I'll use a couple of examples to illustrate. So like everyone else, I've been keeping my eyes and ears open. I'm not a big flipper. I'm not a big reseller and all that business. But if an opportunity presents itself, I will look into it. It's one of those things as a collector that I still have an interest in. Okay, second Old Man Allen, regular. Still worth checking. I don't think I'm going to get any of those special ones, but you double check just the same. But between ComC and then eBay, there have been a lot of different opportunities that have arisen, and it's been kind of interesting. And I'll give you 2 ones that kind of illustrate this point, 2 recent ones. The first one is I was watching a YouTube video of somebody. I want to say, I think it was B&K Blue Line, but I'm going to look it up. I think that's the one because I was listening. I like to watch a lot of these videos, even if I don't tend to follow advice given by other folks in that sphere because I think it's best that you come on your own conclusions. But I think he was mentioning that he was starting to buy up some Conor McGregor cards. And two thoughts crossed my mind, and then as I went along, the second thought kind of overrode the first thought, because the first thought was basically like, well, you know, Conor McGregor is pretty popular, and UFC is pretty popular, you know, MMA. And there's a second Koufax. Good. Well, it looks like they kept them in these holders, even if it's not. I don't think this is the exact one that originally started off, but it's all right. Cards seem to be in good shape, so I'm pretty happy. But even though it's been popular, UFC and MMA in general, I couldn't really see why it would have suddenly gone up so much theoretically. But then the second thought came over me, and I said, wait a minute. This market is stupid. And there's no nicer way to put it. This market is stupid. And people just seem to be losing their minds on everything. And I'm like, should I really discount this possibility? And the honest answer is no. I shouldn't discount this possibility. At the very least, I should look into it. Did that mean I was going to go out and buy some Conor McGregors on this big concept? No, absolutely not. I have no interest in doing anything of the sort. However, I know for a fact that I opened a couple of boxes of 2018 Topps Chrome UFC because I like UFC. I enjoy mixed martial arts. I'm not going to aggressively go and collect, but I've been working on the autograph set for that year, so I definitely opened a couple of boxes, and I started off with the idea of building a refractor set. So as far as Conor McGregor is concerned, I knew for a fact that I had that refractor. So I went and pulled it out of my box. At the same time that I was pulling it out of my box, I looked it up, and it had been selling for a little bit recently. So I decided to go, okay, hold on, let me look into this a little bit more. I decided to put it up myself on eBay, and it ended yesterday. And hopefully on the screen I will put up what the result was. Now to give you a little context, I bought that Conor McGregor card a little over a year ago, last May. And I bought it on ComC. And I paid a whopping 89 cents. Now does that mean that you should all run to MMA cards? Yeah, sure, go ahead. While you're at it, 88 Donruss Greg Jeffries. You do that. I do not give advice on this channel. All I can do is if I ever talk about any investment or any purchasing or whatever, I try to give a concept or a rationale. In this case, the rationale right now is that the market is irrational. That's the rationale. The rationale is that almost anything that anyone feels like they can make something on, if somebody has any kind of infamy or they are notorious, apparently that's enough. That was a very surprising result. Even though I had seen that the cards were selling well, I don't think any of them had sold that well in the screenshot I showed you. So I've sold it and I've since shipped it off. I guess congratulations to the winner. And I'm happy to sell it to them. You know, it was in my set, but at the same time, if that's the going rate right now, I'd rather they have it in their hands, that they're happier than I am with it. But stuff like that is possible. And the thing is, like I said, I'm not telling you the 89-cent thing to impress you. What I'm trying to say is that, like, apparently at this time, it doesn't matter what it is. But in another way, the fact that I paid 89 cents meant that, number one, it was really easy to let go. Now, someone could argue, well, what if it suddenly keeps going up and it becomes a $100 card? Well, first of all, who cares? And I'll get to that with my second example as well. But the thing is, worrying about what could be is like a lottery ticket mentality. You're sitting there, everybody seems to want to win the lotto. They seem to want to win the lottery. They seem to want to hit the home run, so to speak, and don't seem content when an opportunity presents itself for a nice single, a double, or maybe a double that stretches into a triple. Like, there are opportunities out there. Maybe to go to the lottery analogy, it's like having a $100 bill on the ground, but you're saying, like, I can't be bothered to stop for that $100 bill that's right there on the ground. I have to run to the store to buy my lottery ticket so that I can try to win the Powerball. Well, maybe you will win the Powerball, maybe. But at the same time, that $100 bill was right there. And maybe with that $100 bill, you could have then turned that into a little bit more money and maybe done better. Because the lotto is the lotto. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. Now, the good news for a lot of folks that are trying to do this is that the sports card market right now, there are enough winners, enough of people's numbers are coming up that a lot of them are going to get to take advantage of it, and they're going to luck out until the day they don't. So the only thing I would advocate is to be a little bit smarter, and if you're in a position where you're looking at trying to put some cards together to try to hopefully be able to cash in down the road, well, then maybe grab a couple extra copies, because it doesn't hurt to take some gains along the way. There's nothing wrong with, I guess in this case it was like a 50 times gain, 89 cents to about $44, $45. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if somehow I knew that it was going to go to $100 in 6 months or a year, well, then I got to hold it for another 6 months or a year to hope that comes to pass. Whereas today, I was able to sell it for that price. The buyer gets what they wanted. I get to use that money for something else. And if you really are that smart, and you're so obsessed and concerned about flipping, well, then may I suggest taking advantage of these gains and then using them to pick up the next big thing. Try to find the next 20, 30, 50x if you can. It seems to me like that's a more economical and a more logical way to approach this, rather than sit there holding the one item, trying to see if you'll hit the home run, trying to see if you can hit the Powerball. But maybe that's just me. That's just my 2 cents on that matter. Second example I'll give you of taking a small game when it's presenting itself is that while I was doing my surfing on ComC, I also came across a Phoenix of Lamar Jackson, a Phoenix Lamar Jackson rookie card. And I'll show you on the screen in a second what happened with that. But I paid about $40 for it. And I kept it in the basically you can keep it in kind of your port. You don't have to put it up right away. You can actually just have it sitting in your account for a little while. So I left it for a couple of weeks because nothing had really moved with it. Although the Lamar Jacksons were starting to make a move. So I thought, okay, Phoenix is kind of a middle ground. It's not one of the super popular ones that a lot of people want right away. But in this market, what happens is it's a trickle down effect, right? So you start off with like the premium cards and then it slowly trickles down. So maybe if you're talking about like for non-autograph, non-patch, whatever, you're talking like maybe a Prism. Eventually it gets to like an Optic. It gets from there and you just trickle down. Where even the Score, even those ones have started to go up a little bit as well. So once you're at that stage, well then it doesn't really matter. If you're somewhere along the chain, you're probably gonna, the rising tide will pick you up just the same. So I waited a little bit and I held it maybe for about 2 weeks. And then I put it up maybe about a week and a half ago. And then it took maybe 4 or 5 days or 3 or 4 days. And then it sold. I put it up for $65. So I bumped it up $25 from basically where I bought it from, and then I sold it within days for $65. Now again, if I go back to that FOMO idea, well, if you hold it longer, it'll be 100, it'll be 150, it'll be 120, or you can try to get it in, get it graded, send it off to PSA for 6 years. And then by the time it comes back, it's $5,000 because it'll take 6 years for PSA to bring it back. But I don't think that's a good mentality. From my perspective, I took it. And then I took that Lamar Jackson. I was able to convert it into a little profit. And then I was able to use part of that to pick up a few more cards for my personal collection that I would have enjoyed. And also I picked up a Juan Soto PSA 10 that I felt was underpriced. And if Juan Soto continues to be a great player over time, that Juan Soto PSA 10 will appreciate. So there's a good chance that I could very well make a little bit of money on that one if that's my desire, or I can keep it in my collection. And then I got some cards from my collection anyway. All from holding a Lamar Jackson rookie for a couple of weeks. To me, that seems like a win. Mind you, I'm not trying to come out here and make a second income necessarily out of this. I'm just trying to take my advantage of the little opportunities that present themselves and trying to see if I can, take advantage to upgrade pieces of my collection, get other pieces of my collection. And the same thing happened with eBay stuff. There's been some eBay cards that I put up, including that Conor McGregor, that gave me enough of a PayPal balance that I was able to buy myself a card that'll be coming in a mail day upcoming, probably in the next couple of weeks. And when it comes, I'll let you know. But I was very happy to get that card. And while I could have afforded to buy that card just the same, it was nice to get it predominantly subsidized by these sales based on these recent gains. And some of this stuff has been sitting in my collection for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I didn't have to go and run out to get it. That Lamar Jackson one in the ComC, yes, I picked that one up recently. But this market has been so crazy that if you get the right stuff and just relax and be a little bit patient, then you can take advantage. But there's nothing wrong with taking advantage and capitalizing on these little gains and not being ridiculously greedy. It's the greed that will in the end get people, because at some point a bunch of people are going to be holding a bunch of stuff. There's going to be a bunch of inventory being held, and if the bubble doesn't have to burst, but if the bubble lets a little bit of the air out and the prices start coming down and all of these people suddenly desperately start throwing it onto the market, well then the prices will collapse on those cards. It won't be across the board on everything, but on those cards. Just because these same people were sitting there holding the Powerball lottery ticket when they could have grabbed the $100 bill on the ground and just taken advantage of what was already out there, and then now they're sitting on it, and now they can't even get a $5 bill out of it. So it's a bit of a stretch of an analogy, but hopefully you understood what I was trying to get at. Sometimes there are opportunities there right in front of you, if you just take advantage of them, and if you really do have that kind of confidence in your abilities to pick the next winner, so to speak, well then maybe do that. And if you do that enough times, you'll take your singles and your doubles and you'll score enough runs that you don't need the home run. You will have developed it yourself. But then again, it's always fun to hit a home run, and if you were trying to do that, then the best of luck to you. In any event, I think these ones are not going to qualify for anything that I'm going to be able to do with a home run, single, or double. The Project 2020 market on a lot of these stuff. These are, I think, they're not the next most printed runs, but right after the Keith Stroh Griffey, I think both of these have like print runs comfortably over 40,000. So I suspect these ones are going to sit in my collection for a while, but I like the cards, so that'll be fine. I tended to buy the ones that I actually liked, which means that I'm not going to be upset or disappointed if they stay. But that's just me. a little bit of a ramble for today, so I'll leave it at that. I will have a bit of a more regular video coming up, hopefully on the channel soon. We'll have the pickups video at the end of the week, of course. And if I do come up with any more live stream things, I'll do a little update just to let you know ahead of time. And then we'll see how it goes. Summer still goes on here a little bit, and we'll try to enjoy it as much as we can. So hopefully, wherever you are, you've been able to take advantage of it as much as you can, of course, under the circumstances. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks very much.